welcome everyone to another week here on the Focus TV. We're joined as always by Octavia White here, Raymond Lyons, Malik Miller, Wilson Turbe Jr. We got quite a bit to get through, but as always, we start with Octavia's NFC East and how much he loves prime time football with the Philadelphia Eagles.
I hate it so much. Oh, I hate it so much. But I am glad to say, and I wanted to make sure I double checked all different types of sites that well, maybe not but my Philadelphia Eagles are number one in the NFC conference as of today. Was a crazy week in the NFC. I will in the NFC East specifically. I will say I believe that all the teams played really, really good this week. Of course, I think some teams need some work in some specific places, and I'm sure I'll get to that in this first one when we talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, who Wilson so eloquently stated played on national television, which I love so much, against the Detroit Lions. They defeated the Lions 16-9. Jalen Hurts was 14 of 28, 135 yards, 10 carries for 31 yards and 1 touchdown. Saquon Barkley had 26 carries for 83 yards and 1 touchdown. And 1 reception for 7 yards. And AJ Brown, 7 receptions, 49 yards. And on the other side, Jared Goff was 14 of 37, 255 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 1 carry for -1 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs had 12 carries for 39 yards and 5 receptions for 107 yards. And Jameis Wilson had 4 receptions, 88 yards, and 1 touchdown. Of course, the star of the game was the defense. The Eagles' defensive front was everywhere during this game. I feel like Jared Goff is still having nightmares at this point. They just completely disrupted a very high-graded offensive line. We know they have Penei Sewell over there. We know that he and Lane Johnson really fight back and forth of who's the top right tackle in the league. Now, speaking of Lane Johnson, he did go out early in this game. He does have a Lisfranc fracture. He's expected to miss some time, but it does not seem to be season ending. So games like this prove why we might be able to give him some time to rest if our defense continues to play like this. Jared Goff was pressured relentlessly the entire night. He completed 14 of 37 passes, and they failed on all 5 of their 4th down attempts. They did a fake punt, and then some was just missed throws. It seemed like the front 4, because they really didn't blitz that much. It was really just rushing the front 4. And Jalen Phillips has been a godsend, obviously, has been helping out with that attack. Philadelphia held the Lions to 3 of 13 on 3rd downs and just 9 points. Just showing, they're hitting strides kind of early. It's reminiscent of what the defense looked like last year, and it's around the time, maybe a little bit later than last year, of when they started to come on a lot more. Like I said, Jalen Phillips, 5 tackles, 1 sack. But between Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, they both had together 5 batted down passes, 3 for Jordan Davis, 2 for Jalen Carter. One of those batted down passes ended up for an interception for Cooper DeJean, who caught the ball off of the tip. So they're just playing crazy. And of course, Nakobe Dean, who played a pivotal role in stopping short yardage runs. He had a sack in the game as well. He basically sacked Jared Goff by using his own player against him. It was kind of crazy. But of course, on the other side of the ball, it still leaves a lot to be desired. Jalen Hurts completed only 50% of his passes for 135 yards. And the team just managed 1 touchdown. Now, of course, that's all everybody's been talking about is AJ Brown this, AJ Brown that. Is he happy? Is he not happy? There were reports this week that he had a meeting, but it was really more so like a quick conversation during practice where Big Dom, the security guard, and whatever else his special title is at this point, pulled AJ over to talk to Jeffrey Lurie during practice. They both, talked about it, talked it out. AJ has stated that he will no longer make public comments and things about his frustration. He continuously says he just wants to be involved. Obviously, he was heavily involved in this game. He had 11 targets, but only finished with 49 yards, Now he could have had another catch. There was one play that kind of pissed me off because he'd been complaining so much and he didn't run the entire route when the ball came to him. But I digress. Saquon Barkley needed 26 carries for 83 yards. Their red zone efficiency was pretty poor. They were 1 for 3, and then their third down conversions were just 27%, which is 4 for 15. So again, like I said, Lane Johnson, Cam Jurgens also got injured in this game. I haven't heard the recap for him yet, but it still shows they have some offensive inconsistencies. But the defense playing the way that they are, I have full faith that the offense will do what they need to do to win. It might not be gaudy numbers. It might not be anything Matt Stafford, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson-esque, but it will get the job done. I have full faith in them as they continue to go on. And then last but not least, special teams. Jake Elliott has been clutch pretty much his entire season. I feel like he's a kicker that doesn't really get a lot of pub. He has had some situations where he's missed pivotal kicks, but in this game, he scored 10 points with 3 field goals, including a 49 in the fourth quarter. So he's doing his part. The special teams are doing their part. Defense is doing their part. Offense is getting there, but they still have some more to work on. Devontae Smith has some uncharacteristic drops in this game. It was a very windy night, which could have attributed to it, but his hands are really short, so don't want to blame that on the wind, of course, but definitely wasn't their best outing. But a win is a win. A W is a W by any means necessary. Survive and move forward, and that's what they did by beating one of the best teams in the league, as most people will say. And that's 2 straight weeks with holding what they consider explosive offenses. I know the Packers are kind of up and down, but holding 2 explosive offense below 10 points. So the defense is definitely coming on at the right time. It's getting cold. This is the time where the defense really should eat. So hopefully they're able to continue that, as they will go into Dallas next week. So we'll have an interdivision game. They'll play the Cowboys Sunday at 4:25 in Arlington. I have to make sure it's Arlington, not Dallas. Next, we'll go to the early game that happened across wherever in Spain, in Madrid, Spain. I first off want to say a lot of my friends seem to have made the trip out there. I will give you guys a pass because I assume that you bought the tickets before the season started. There's no way I would have paid to go to Spain to watch this team play. But I digress. They played against the Dolphins. They lost to the Dolphins 16-13. Marcus Mariota was 20 of 30, 213 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 4 carries for 49 yards. Chris Rodriguez Jr. had 15 carries for 79 yards, 1 reception for 6 yards. Deebo Samuel, 7 receptions, 74 yards, and 1 touchdown. On the other side, Tua Tagovailoa had 14 of 20, 171 yards. Devon Achane, 21 carries, 120 yards, 3 carries for 45 yards. I believe he had 2. Oh, no, that's it. Ollie Gordon, the second, had 9 carries for 45 yards and 1 touchdown, and Jalen Waddle had 3 receptions for 52 yards. This was Dan Quinn's first time playing, being defensive caller for this team so far since he's taken over as, of course, head coach last year. The defense did hold Miami to 16 points, forcing 2 goal line stops, and they limited the Dolphins to 5.8 yards per play, which definitely shows an improvement from, of course, the previous blowout losses that they've had. I believe they stopped the history of having 5 games of where they lost by, I don't even know how many points, more than 20, it seems, at least. There were some aggressive calls. They did have well-timed corner blitzes by Jonathan Jones, who played pretty good as well on the defensive side, which resulted in a sack on Tua. Their coverage was tighter. They showed a little bit of resilience. They showed like, hey, we don't want to go out like that. I'm sure they realized, again, like I said, a lot of their fans traveled to Madrid to watch them play, and you can tell that they played better and, you know, they played for some sense of pride. Twice inside the 5-yard line, though, the Commanders defense did deny Miami, including a critical fourth quarter stop, when the game was tied at 13. Again, showed their discipline, their resilience of really trying to win the game. They played a pretty good game, to be honest. Now, we know the Miami Dolphins haven't been the greatest team this year, but they have played well the last week or two, beating the Bills last week. I lost my place, sorry. Yeah, but again, Devon Achane still with 120 yards rushing, still leaves a lot of desire for their run defense. Even though Devon Achane is a beast, like that's the reason why they were willing to let go of any other of their running backs where they had, I think it was Mostert that year where they were kind of trading off on carries. Is definitely his show. But the Commanders also did miss out on key opportunities on offense and special teams. Their offense outgained Miami 379 to 311, and they converted first downs consistently, but they did fail to capitalize in key moments, like stated. A pivotal 4th and goal pass to Zach Ertz fell incomplete after Ertz slipped and later muffed a punt by Mike Sainristil, gave Miami key position where yeah, keep position, excuse me. And then there was another pivotal opportunity where I don't know what it is with the Commanders and kickers. They just can never get a solid kicker that they can depend on day in, day out to make these kicks. Another one of the merry-go-round of the kickers that the Commanders have had. I know we talk about how many quarterbacks they've had over the last couple of years. I would be interested to know how many kickers have they had over the last couple of years. But kicker Matt Gay missed a potential game-winning 56-yard field goal in the final seconds of regulation, which obviously sent it into overtime. In overtime, the Dolphins won the toss, but they elected to go on defense first, and it showed to be a wise decision. Marcus Mariota played pretty decently throughout the game, but of course, again, pivotal moments when they make inopportune mistakes. He after a very solid game, like I said, he threw an interception on the first play of overtime while targeting Ertz, and that was basically all she wrote. The Dolphins were already in field goal position. Once they got the first down after one series, they didn't waste any time, kicked the field goal, won the game. So it was a heartbreaking loss for the Commanders after what I feel like they played really well and well enough to win the game. It just sucks that they weren't able to pull out the W for them. They were 3-8 now. It's very hard to believe that they'll make the playoffs. But crazier things have happened. They do still have at least I believe 3 or 4 division games left. I believe they still have to play the Cowboys again, and they still haven't played the Eagles, so they have at least 3. So crazy things can happen. Again, they've talked about Jaden Daniels not being on injured reserve. I still don't see why you would bring him back, but who knows what will happen with that franchise. They are going on a bye this week, so after coming back from Spain, they'll have some time to decompress. So they will be on a bye next week. The following week after that, they will play the New Orleans Saints. Next, we'll go to the Monday night game where the Dallas Cowboys played against the Las Vegas Raiders. They defeated the Raiders 33-16. Dak Prescott was 25 of 33, 268 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 carries for -4 yards. Javonte Williams had 22 carries for 93 yards and 1 reception for 0 yards. CeeDee Lamb had 7 receptions for 85 yards. He didn't have that. George Pickens had 9 receptions for 144 yards, 1 touchdown. CeeDee Lamb had 5 receptions for 66 yards and 1 touchdown. Jake Ferguson had 4 receptions for 16 yards and 1 touchdown. And Ryan Flournoy had 1 reception, 2 yards for 1 touchdown. On the Raiders side, Geno Smith was 27 of 42, 238 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and 4 carries for 14 yards. Ashton Jeanty, 6 carries for 7 yards and 6 receptions for 27 yards. Brock Bowers had 7 receptions for 72 yards, and Trey Tucker had 4 receptions for 47 yards and 1 touchdown. I'm going to be completely honest, about midway through the second, I was kind of checked out. This is what we're used to seeing this year from the Dallas Cowboys and their offensive output. When their offense plays like this, it's hard. It's hard. That's even coming off of the fact that for reasons that haven't been completely explained, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens both were held out of the first offensive series of this game. There has been rumblings of they missed some meeting. People are speculating they were in Vegas. Who knows what happened? Maybe they were together. No clue. But all in all, they were held out of the first series, and the Cowboys had a slow start with them not being out there, going 3-0 in their first series. But obviously they came back. Of course, they played with very heavy hearts. As we know, Marshawn Kneeland, this is their first game without him since his tragic loss on November 6th, I believe it was. So you definitely felt like they were going to come out there, heavy hearts, try to play for their fallen teammate. And I think they made good on that. I think that their coach did a really good job with keeping them composed. Especially, some people think it was a good thing that it happened on a bye week. Some people think it wasn't a good thing that it happened on a bye week because they had a lot of time to sit with it. When some people might feel like they could have just got right back in it. But I think either way, they handled it the best way that they could. It's a tough situation to deal with. So definitely kudos to them and their organization and their franchise for being able to move past it. Well, I'm sorry, they're saying they're not moving past it. They're just moving on. Their offense was lights out. They had 2 back-to-back kind of sluggish weeks, but Dak came back and had one of his best games of his career. This was the best passing game for him this season. Again, they scored on 5 straight drives, 4 touchdowns. Dak Prescott had 268 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 75.8% completion rating, a 138.6 passer rating. George Pickens obviously played out of his mind. The 9 receptions, 144 yards, touchdown. CeeDee Lamb added the 66 yards and a touchdown as well. And then, of course, he threw the ball around to the others, Jake Ferguson and Ryan Flournoy. Their defense looked a whole hell of a lot better. Their defense, previously among the league's worst, looked revitalized thanks to new additions and returning players. Quinn Williams made an immediate impact in his debut with 1.5 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, and 4 tackles, helping to hold the Raiders to just 236 total yards and just 27 rushing yards. Dallas recorded 4 sacks, 1 interception, and a safety, signaling a potential turnaround for the unit. Again, there are mixed views of this. Is it too late? Are they able to get on a run? But they definitely have a daunting schedule ahead of them. They play, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles next week, followed up by the Kansas City Chiefs. And I believe after that, the Detroit Lions. I have to check. But yeah, this is going to be kind of Detroit Lions. This is going to be kind of like their prove it to see if there really is anything left in the tank for this year. They are 4-5-1 currently. And again, like I said, crazier things have happened in the division. They still have another game against the Eagles and another game against the Commanders. And I think they have another game against the Giants as well. So their next game, again, like I said, will be against the Eagles on Sunday. Last but not least, the Giants played against the Packers. They lost to the Packers, 27-20. Jameis Winston, who got the start for injured Jackson Dart, was 19 of 29, 201 yards, 1 interception, 3 carries for 10 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. Tyron Tracy Jr. had 19 carries for 88 yards, 4 receptions for 51 yards. Devin Singletary had 16 carries, 44 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and 1 reception for 3 yards. And Isaiah Hodgins had 5 receptions for 57 yards. On the other side, Jordan Love, 13 of 24, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 carries for 7 yards. Malik Willis did get a series in here where Jordan Love went out with an apparent shoulder injury, but he did later return. But in that time, Malik Willis was 2 of 2, 6 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 carry for 16 yards. Emmanuel Wilson took over for Josh Jacobs, who also left the game in the second quarter with a knee injury and did not return. He had 11 carries for 40 yards and 1 touchdown and 1 reception for 9 yards. Romeo Doubs had 4 receptions for 53 yards. Welcome back, Christian Watson, 4 receptions, 46 yards, 2 touchdowns. It was a hell of a catch in the end zone. This is his second game back this year after injury, and you can tell they missed him. And then Josh Wiley, 1 reception, 2 yards, and 1 touchdown. The Giants also played, I think, well in this game. They're coming off of the firing of Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka taking over as interim head coach and play caller, basically. And I think they were pretty competitive throughout the entire game. There was periods of time where I thought, will the Giants actually pull this off? As we know, the Packers have been up and down this season, but they just had some costly missed opportunities. They failed to execute in pivotal moments, despite converting 10 of 18 third and fourth down attempts. They couldn't finish when it really mattered the most. They turned the ball over on downs once, and they threw an interception in the red zone and late in the fourth quarter when they were threatening to score and potentially tie the game. Jameis is Jameis. He's going to throw a touchdown one way or the other. I don't know which team it's going to be to, but it's going to be to one of them. And then this time it happened to be that he threw the ball and it was intercepted by the Green Bay Packers. They did show some adjustments and promise on offense. Again, Jameis Winston led 2 long scoring drives in the second half of 16 and 15 plays, including an 85-yard march capped by a quarterback sneak for a go-ahead score at the time. Again, however, sometimes he's overly aggressive, but he was definitely out there slinging that thing. If Jackson Dart's not able to go next week, I wholeheartedly cannot wait to see him play again because you're always going to get some type of excitement when you see Jameis out there. Their red zone efficiency and situational defense. The Giants scored on 3 of their 5 red zone trips, but the 2 failures, again, a turnover on downs and interception, were decisive. Defensively, they allowed the Packers to score touchdowns on all 4 of their red zone possessions, which obviously shows a gap in, the differential between both teams. Their pass rush and covers still struggled a little bit. Their defensive front generate pressures, but couldn't finish on key plays. On a pivotal 3rd and 10 late in the game, despite sending 5 rushers, none won their one-on-one matchups, allowing Jordan Love to hit a 32-yard pass that set up the winning touchdown. Their coverage was pretty solid. Cordero Flott had tight coverage on Savion Williams, but they could not prevent the big play. And Green Bay was able to squeak it out. Again, they were able to get that interception at the end of the game for the win. I think they played well. You always feel like teams kind of have a little bit of extra oomph when their coach get fired, and I think that we saw that with them this week. It just obviously did not convert into a W for them. It's only going to get worse next week when they play against the Detroit Lions, who again are coming off of a loss. And I believe they said it was Jared Goff's worst statistical game ever, which says a lot because he's played pretty well. He's had some bad games, but it was pretty bad for him in this game. So back to work next week for the NFC East, and we'll see how it works out.
The NFC East of the association. Ray, I've been waiting for this. What you got to share with us this week, coming off all the wonderful conversations we've had on and off Wizards Outlook?
Oh man, I'm gonna be brief this week. It's really not much to discuss. On Sunday, the Wizards reached a new level of infutility. They capped off their 11th straight loss to statistically the worst team in the NBA. And, not only did they lose, they lost handily. They lost to the Brooklyn Nets. The score was 129 to 106. At one point in this game, the score was 85 to 84. Then the Nets responded and closed out the 3rd quarter on a 9-0 run to push the lead to 10, and then completely took over in the 4th quarter. When it's 2 teams that are 1-11 and then one team completely overwhelms the other, that's pretty low, man. And that prompted what I'm hoping could be the watershed moment for this team. The players had a player-only meeting after the coaches spoke post-game, and they just kind of addressed some things that needed to be addressed. Keyshawn George spoke at length about the team's struggles and what needed to happen for them to get on the right track. And also Bilal Coulibaly came out and spoke about, he didn't go into specifics about what was discussed in the meeting. He just pretty much said that, guys kind of called each other out and addressed some things that need to change in order to turn this thing around. But yeah, man, if a loss like that doesn't light something in you, then you need to find another job. But if anything positive can be taken from this, I was happy to see, when Keyshawn spoke post game on Sunday, I was happy to see him frustrated and visibly upset about what's been going on, because it's embarrassing. Him and Alex Sarr have pretty much been the only 2 consistent spots on the team to this point. We've been seeing graphics about the worst individual defenders in the league, and a lot of Wizards are appearing at the top of those lists, and Sarr and Keyshawn George aren't anywhere near them, which tells me that they're at least taking their craft seriously and playing with some pride. But they need people to join them this is a super young team. They need to build some habits and continuity to dig themselves out of this thing. 1-12 is just bad, and then you're losing convincingly to the only other team in the same realm of despair as you. Something's got to give, man. Keyshawn said it in his post-game comments, like, people got to look at themselves in the mirror and figure out what they want out of the season and out of life in general. And I totally agree. The effort they've been putting up through these first 13 games has been flat out embarrassing. And, something's got to change. So hopefully, guys will go back and reevaluate some things. They had an off day today. Bilal said he looked at some film from Sunday's game. Yeah, I don't know what you want to gather from that. If you watch the game, then you know that it was just a whole lot of nothing happening. But yeah, man, we'll see. They're on a little mini road trip. They're at Minnesota tomorrow, at Toronto on Friday, at Chicago on Saturday. Then they return home against the Hawks next Tuesday. So we'll see, man. We'll see how they look. If they even show a pulse. But yeah, it's after Sunday, man. Me, Wilson, and Cardero just, for the first time, we were pretty speechless in outlook. And given what we've seen the past few years, to not have anything to say is that's an accomplishment. So, hopefully this thing looks better, man. But we'll see. Only time will tell.
That was definitely one of the first outlooks in history where no one could put a coherent sentence together to explain what it is that we all watch. Like Octavia, if you get a chance to go look at it, no one could.
As bad as I know the Wizards has been over the time, like, that's sad.
We were struggling as a group individually to put words. Like, it would have been bad if our lives depended on the three of us putting our hands together. One sentence to recap that night.
Get your affairs in order.
Man, we would have all failed miserably. Like, it was that bad. On to man, that was
the Capitals are not doing well everywhere.
I'm glad somebody's doing something, man. That was dark. That was a Sunday evening. That was dark. It's not how you want to start your week.
No,
right, on to college. We'll get to that real quick. The Maryland women's team. Before we get to the game against Princeton, they had a game Thursday against Towson in which they won. Unfortunately, one of the bad bits of news in that one was the team announced that freshman guard Leah Bartelma suffered a torn ACL and will miss the remainder of the 25-26 season. Bartelma suffered the injury in that game that took place on Thursday. As for the game that's on your screen, Princeton. They visited College Park and pushed the ninth-ranked team in the country a little by using their experience and versatility before falling to just the waves of Maryland pressure. Maryland was able to hold them off late, wrestle back, control the game in the third quarter, then hold them off to win 84-68. We saw the Terps overcome some adversity and struggles to win a game in what Brendan Freese described as a top 25 matchup. Maryland was led by Lucci Akano with 20 points, 4 rebounds, and a steal. Sarah Poffenbarger added 19.6 rebounds and 3 steals. Addie Mack, the freshman, finished with 15.6 rebounds, 4 assists, and a pair of steals. For Princeton, Madison St. Rose led the way with 20 points, 4 assists, and a steal. Also with the block, Olivia Hutcherson added 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 steals, while Fadima Tall added 13, 7, and 3, those 7 being rebounds. The Tigers used a big second quarter to take control of the game. You got to see that in a little bit. I mean, they were outstanding. You saw their experience take over. You see why they've been to the postseason a couple of times, why this group's been together. They just really locked up Maryland. And it really wasn't anything to just a well-timed press. And, Coach Freese said after the game, she felt like her team made the press seem bigger than it was, and they struggled mightily with it. Kudos to, I think it's Coach Berube. at Princeton for the time of her calling the press, and they won that second quarter 20-8. They forced 8 Maryland turnovers in that quarter. So Maryland won that first quarter 26-10, and Princeton took complete control of that game 20-8 in that second period. The Terps got going in the third quarter, starting fast by their defense. I've been talking about that all, I think after every game so far with Terps recaps, and it seems to be this team's calling card early on, and it was sparked by Aluchi. She's just stupid fast. Ray, you know how coaches love to have somebody at the top of the press that's just irritating. Energizer Bunny that likes to sprint, just running around, hands stretched, getting in the way of everything. If you get by her, you probably have like 2 steps before she's right back on top of you again. But she's done a great job being at the tip of that press. Kayleen Smichael, this was her second game back. She's on a minutes restriction. But those two, Aluchi and Kayleen, combined to score 14 and Maryland's 27 points in that period. Aluchi doing it in transition, and Smichael doing what she does best. She's just really good at attacking. She's crafty. She understands angles, and she got to the line 11 times in this game, 8 times in that quarter. Her ability to put pressure on Princeton's defense in the half court, combined with what Aluchi was doing and Maryland's defense kind of coming alive, really helped them take control of the game back. Princeton did have a few rallies. Hutchinson, Tall, and St. Rose all had moments where they tried to wrestle that game back from Maryland, but we saw Maryland just kind of grow up a little bit, and they were able to hold them off. Just for a more in-depth breakdown, including some, post-game quotes and thoughts and things of that nature, head over to our channel. Maryland has 2 more games this week as they continue through their non-conference part of their schedule. I believe they host Bethune-Cookman on Thursday, and then they host George Mason on Sunday. So we're looking forward to every bit of that. But let's get to take it or leave it. Let's see what I got for you guys this week. All right, here we go. Just going to throw this up here real quick and make it real easy. Ray, you get to go first on this one because, it's your team up here. Right? Dallas coming off a win. The offense is back on track. Pickens and Lamb, you see them both having fun and celebrating. Everything's cool. Doing their thing, obviously. But Lamb has missed 3 games this season. However, the play and production from George Pickens, they just paid Lamb. Pickens has been acting a fool since he's arrived in Dallas. And for once, not from an off-the-field standpoint. Everything's between the lines, and he's doing what you're supposed to do in what is essentially a contract year for the young fella. So he's possibly headed to free agency, barring a tag or Dallas paying somebody else, which would be interesting that you decided not to pay Micah Parsons, but you're going to use some of the leftover money now to pay George Pickens. Again, but that's not what this is. Take it or leave it that Dallas can't afford to let I'm trying not to be petty, to let the very talented wide receiver leave this offseason because of what he's meant to their offense this year. I avoided being petty, but go ahead.
I'm gonna take it, man. They got to bring him back. Why would you let him leave after the way he's played? The season isn't over obviously, but the results are speaking for themselves so far. And I mean, CeeDee Lamb is CeeDee Lamb. So why would you break them up? Just don't overthink it, man. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Don't do Dallas Cowboy things. Just try to operate at some semblance of normalcy here. But yeah, it would be foolish to let him go at this point. You gotta get some type of consistency going. The offense has been on fire the entire year. It's been the defense that's been lagging behind. So if that side picks up, then this could be a pretty interesting finish to the season. But it'll be all for naught if that defense does turn the corner. But then you let a big part of your offense go. So yeah, I feel like at this point he's made himself kind of invaluable.
Octavia, your thoughts on your division foe?
Yeah, I'm gonna take it and leave it. I'm gonna leave it because I don't want him to come back. That would be amazing, for my sake. But as an impartial, unbiased media member, yeah, I mean it's a no-brainer. This is the best we've seen him play, and probably the least amount of crash outs that he's had. Um, I mean, he did have a penalty in the game last night, for crash out behavior. And I always love when they get caught on hot mics and Dak is yelling at him like, "Who the f cares?" Okay, luckily it was the Raiders guys. So somebody like I go back to when Jameis Wilson got a penalty on his touchdown, which caused his team to kick a 48-yard extra point that he missed that could have played pivotal points in the game. So I hear you, but it was the Raiders. But yeah, for them, like who's behind him? Like who else are you getting? Like if it's not him, like you said, it's going to be kind of comical that they're going to pay him and not pay Mike Parsons. But we're here now. We got to let that go at this point. I hope. But to me, it's a no brainer. I feel like Jerry likes these type of players anyway. To a certain degree, he likes the loud, bodacious, especially in the wide receiver camp. And they play well together. They play well off of each other. You could tell that there's no I'm upset if he gets more catches than me or more targets than me. Like you can tell that they both play well. I think honestly, the best thing that happened to George Pickens, and unfortunately for the other person, but the best thing that happened to him was CD getting hurt early in the season. You know, that gave him time to build up his rapport with Dak and prove that number one, he could be a number one receiver. Now, the thing that's really going to happen is how much money is there somebody else out there that's going to be looking for a number one receiver willing to give him? So it's really going to come down to Pickens and his maturity, to be honest. Is he going to chase the money? And you can't be mad at him for doing it if Jerry's not going to be competitive. So you can't be mad at him for that because there are a lot of teams that are looking for a number one. The team they played last night let go of Jacoby Myers, so I'm sure they're looking for a one. Trey Tucker is not going to be it. Brock Bowers can do everything he can, but they're looking for a one. I mean, it's going to sound crazy, and I don't think it's going to happen. I'm sure the Steelers wish they still had him if he was going to play like this as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm taking it as far as if I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, I'm not letting him out the building. Don't talk to nobody. But the funny thing that will come down to it is I believe him and Michael Parsons shares an agent. So that should be interesting.
Yeah, again, doing my best to not be as petty as possible. However, one of the biggest like sticking points in this potential contract extension is I was told there was already wide receiver one there before this gentleman landed. So if you were George Pickens and his agent being the same agent of Micah's and that agent for what he does for his clients, gonna want his look. I'm just Jerry. You about to pay 2 number one wide receivers, even though one of them ain't a one? Or are you gonna underpay the guy who might be the one that's not the one, as if that's not a ticking time bomb? But again, you wouldn't have to worry about these things because you could have just spent that money on your in-house pass rusher. However, here we are. So I'm just looking forward to how this plays out. Because if I'm George Pickens, we starting at what you just gave Slot Boy. Like, we started right there. we started right there. Because I was under the impression that if he missed games, this whole offense was supposed to fall apart. You put the 88 on his back. You told us he was the guy. No, I'm cooking. Dak out here looking dumb productive with me. Nothing changed but me. Me, the crash out me. And look at us. Paul Rudd meme here right now. Look at us. Who would have thought? That's where they at right now. Him and Dak right now. CD watching. That's where Dak is. That's where Dak and George Pickens are right now. Who would have thought? The number one wide receiver. Anyways, I'm with y'all. I take it. Got another one, I think, NFL related with you guys. Cardo's not here, but I got him. The Broncos beat the Chiefs this weekend.
Oh gosh.
Regular season win or not. I was happy. It took me a while to find that picture, but I found it. I was looking for the one with Dre Greenlaw got it, but it was kind of fuzzy. But for the Chiefs, Octavia, you mentioned the Chiefs because they're on one of the NFC East teams schedule coming up soon.
Yeah.
That said, this win against the Chiefs, we know that match has been kind of one-sided in the past. Big win for the Broncos. Obviously, I know it's only regular season, but a win over that man and that team is a big win regardless of when it happens. That said, the Broncos moved to 9-2. They're tied with the Patriots. Yes, the Patriots for the best record in football. But the Chiefs are now 5-5. Their second consecutive loss, which pushes them to third in their division behind the Broncos and the 7-4 Chargers. Take it or leave it. Can the Chiefs right the ship and make a run down the stretch to get into the postseason dance? Or nah, Octavia?
All right, let me look at this schedule. They got the Colts next week, Cowboys after that, Texans after that, Chargers after that, Titans after that. They got to see the Broncos again, and then they get the Raiders. I feel like I've been straddling the fence so far and take it or leave it. So I kind of want to say take it and leave it. I want to take it because it just looks bad. Like last year they were 11-0 in one-score games, and this year they're 0-5 in one-score games. That's a huge change from last year. Andy Reid is what they said, like 22-4 or something like that off of a bye week or something crazy like that. They lost to the Bronco-less, the Pat Surtain-less Broncos. They didn't have J.K. Dobbins, so they had rookie running back R.J. Harvey. And I feel like this was one of the games where Patrick Mahomes looked mortal. But on the other side of that, I feel like we say this every year. I feel like, now granted, I feel like this year is the most dire it's been because at this point, there's probably no statistical way, there might be like 0.1% or whatever it is, that the AFC playoffs run through Arrowhead. We might as well just go ahead and wrap that up. But that's not saying that they can't get on a run and play wherever. Like, yeah, of course they have home field advantage at Arrowhead Stadium, but we've seen them go to the playoffs without having home field advantage. I mean, go to the Super Bowl without having home field advantage. So in that aspect, it gives me slight pause. But when you have the likes of like the Broncos playing the way they are, and you hope that Bo Nix continues to improve because he's a little bit sporadic at times. But he's throwing the ball to rookies. His rookie class is doing well. Sean Payton is calling good games. You know that the Bills are always going to be there. The Patriots are the class of the AFC as of now. I don't so much believe in the Chargers. I know they're ahead of them right now, and I think I just named that they have another game against them. Yeah, so I think part of it is just like Patrick is always very cool, calm, and collective about their struggles. Like even in his pressers, he seems to just feel like we'll get it together. We'll get it together. And for the most part, for the last couple of years, they have. This would be probably the most impressive team play for them if they were able to go on a run. Because the things that we are used to depending on aren't happening. Again, the one-score wins. The one possession wins, or one-score wins, whatever. And Travis Kelce and Chris Jones not closing out games. So it looks a little bit different than what we've seen in the past, but it's really hard to count out the Chiefs where they've been to the last 4 out of the last 5 Super Bowls, I believe it is. So it's very tough to do that, but it ain't looking too good.
Ray, your thoughts on the Chiefs as they enter this home stretch?
Yeah, I'm going to quote a very famous philosopher, Marshall Mathers, when he said, and when your run is over, just admit when it's at its end. It's a wrap, man. I think Octavia painted the perfect picture. Like the magic we've been seeing is just not there anymore. Like those the games that they probably should have lost previously in previous years, and they were found a way to win. They're not doing that this year, and I mean, and it doesn't look like they'll be able to find that rhythm again, especially with Travis Kelce's production dropping like it has. I mean, it's okay, man. All good things come to an end, and they've been pulling out for a long time. They had a hell of a run,
Yeah.
and yeah, man. Sometimes the rope just runs out, And if they flip the switch and turn around, I'll be the first to eat my words. You can't do anything but at that point. But from where I sit right now, yeah, it's just time, and that's perfectly okay. It happens in sports all the time, man. So Chiefs fans, you've been spoiled for the past 5 years or so. Take your lumps. It's okay. You got jewelry to flaunt, and just hope that something happens to where they can turn this thing around quickly, or the impossible does happen and they go on another run. But yeah, right now it's not looking too good.
Yeah, if I could add real quick, I think the other thing is like a lot of teams are no longer scared of them. Like a lot of people, and this is not me trying to be braggy or anything, but a lot of people say like from the Super Bowl last year how bad the Philadelphia Eagles beat them. Everybody's like, oh, so all you really gotta do is just like knock them around. Oh, all right. And it just seems like everybody's adopted that. It just has moved forward with no fear in their heart. Like, yeah, Pat's probably gonna get one or two, but he ain't gonna get as many as he been getting. Like, even if he gets the little bit that he got in the Super Bowl, now again, that was against the third string at that point. But even if he gets that, like, we'll knock him out eventually. And I mean, I think his offensive line has been decent this year with the rookie. But he's still getting, I mean, look at the picture. Like, look at the picture. Like he been having to do a lot, they definitely, and I think starting a year off the way they did with not having whatever the felon's name is, I can't think of his name, all these felons on offense that's been missing games and injuries and whatnot, and Travis Kelce long in the tooth, and all we talking about is him and the girl getting engaged. They got a lot of distractions, okay? And it feels like those distractions are finally starting to catch up with them, and people just not scared of them no more.
Yeah, no, I'm with y'all. I think the biggest thing, like I think they've done such a great job, like retooling their defense and doing a great job of maximizing that side. Like they're 5-5, they're still only giving up 18 points a game. The difference is now is that offense is struggling, and it went from like super explosive to like year by year by year. Initially when they traded Tyreek, it didn't hurt them as much. And every year that's since passed, they have not obviously not replaced him, but their offense they have not replicated that type of juice on their offense. Every year they got less and less explosive. Like their skill position players, like to me, that's where everything's went left is, yeah, their defense used to do stuff, but they would be able to get explosives. Where do the explosives come from now? Like that's what made I think to me, what made them so frustrating was you could have them 3rd and 18 and it'll just get 42 yards because they were going to take the thing that you shouldn't be able to take. And then now, as Octavia said, your point is there was a blueprint put out. Yeah, you bruise them, you batter them, you beat on them, but they don't have the home run. They used to just swing the bat and that was it. Flip the field, change everything, bases cleared, and all of a sudden your nice save, curated 3-0 lead, you're down 4-3. 3 swings at the bat, you're down 18. You didn't do anything. They just swung the bat 3 times. But now they're not even hitting doubles on offense. So yeah, it is like going back to the fear thing. For what? Y'all here fighting with us for 19 points? Oh, we ain't tripping off y'all. This is where we live. That's the rest of the world. We live here. Y'all down here with us? Oh man, like that's crazy. So yeah, Pat, ain't nobody getting off the line of scrimmage. Who we supposed to? I know they got a young fella, Worthy from Texas, whatever. Like he's fast as hell and that's great, but that's the tough part with finding those elite speed dudes. What made Tyreek different was he was really fast, but still a football player. Like, that's why they got away with the stuff. Like, he has some stuff, good and bad, all the off the field stuff, but on the field, he was a little different. And they've never replaced that. Rashee Rice, bless his heart, that's a complimentary piece. That is not a flip the field, change everything. And like Ray, you said spoiled. That was a perfect word for it. They were so used to just one flick of the wrist, you're losing now. And now it's put a drive together. Do it again.
And they can't run the ball.
Do it again. And they can't run the ball.
No, like
I thought
Isaiah Pacheco was cool for a year and a half.
And I think that and not getting another tight end, like the skill, again, going back to skill position players. Like the good thing, Pat's only 30, right? So, take a draft, spend some money, go get you some stuff. Life will still be cool, but nah, man, I'm with y'all. The thing that made it scary is gone. Y'all just hit singles. Sometimes it looks like y'all bunt out here drag bunt. Like, nobody bothered by that. 1, 2, 3. Everyone move one base ahead. People been waiting for this. And then like the leagues move to that 2 deep thing, and y'all don't got the speed to stretch it. Like, it's tough out here for offenses if your play caller doesn't have some toys to move things around. Staying with football, good old Sam Darnold. I'll mess with Malik about this later. He had to go, but 4-game win streak snapped with the division loss to the Rams. They lost 21-19 despite 4 interceptions from Sam Darnold. Again, they lost by 2, and they still had a chance to win late, but missed the field goal. Darnold has been fairly good this year. He's up to 17 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Mind you, he was at 6 interceptions before that game started that day. We were like week 9, he only had 6 interceptions. That's good no matter who your quarterback is, right? But his completion percentage is up at 70. So my question for you guys, take it or leave it. One bad game from Darnold, or just Darnold kind of regressing to the mean? Like, is it just time that time of year, returning back into a pumpkin, or just one bad division game? Where you guys at? Ray, we'll start with you.
I mean, whenever there's mountains of evidence of a certain thing happening, I gotta go with that. Only thing he can do is prove me wrong. But like you said, the clock has struck midnight. It's about that time. If he can fight that off, then cool. But if not, I mean, were we expecting anything different to begin with? But yeah, and that was an ugly game. And even if it wasn't going to go the way it normally goes, have a game like that, your mind starts to think it's Sam Darnold time again. So yeah, like I said, man, this is not a surprise. It's happened over and over again. So why would this year be anything different? And yeah, if that happens not to be the case, good for him. But yeah, I think this is just Sam Darnold being Sam Darnold.
All right, Octavia.
I think this is what happens when people crown people to a certain prestige after one season of something. We took one pretty good season that he had in Minnesota and anointed him as he's back. This is what we all knew Sam Darnold could do those years, and the Jets are just a bad franchise. But let's not forget, this is the same team he failed against last year when he played for the Minnesota Vikings. So 1 time is a coincidence, 2 times is a trend. And it's trending to the same thing. Now, luckily for him, in this situation, it's not in the playoffs, which got them booted out the playoffs last year after a 14-win season. But he was seeing ghosts before he probably even stepped off the bus, knowing that he was playing against the Los Angeles Rams defense. Whatever it is, it's not it. And the score to me is not indicative of how he played, because his defense got him back in that game. His defense is playing well. Jackson Smith-Njigba is doing everything he can. I think even AJ Barner played pretty decent in this game as well, at the tight end position. And I mean, they're doing running back by committee with Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. And I think this was one of Kenneth Walker's better games of the year. So it's not like it was him that got them back in the game. It was him that got them out of the game completely. And the resilience from his defense and those other players is what drug them back across the line. And unfortunately for them, I think they said there were like 5 games this week that all ended in a walk-off field goal. And for them, they were on the wrong side of it. I'm with Ray. Like I want to have faith in him. I want to see the resurgence. I like an underdog story, but it's starting to look a little bit like the quarterback that he replaced out there, which is the quarterback that played last night for the Raiders. It's starting to look very eerie similar to that. And I'm sure a lot of these NFL insider and scouts are like, we told you so. At this point, like, there are some hits or misses when it comes to some of these quarterbacks. But for the most part, I think they're pretty spot on for their evaluations, and it's another hit against him in the wrong direction, especially in the NFC West where everybody's playing well. I mean, we're talking about Jacoby Brissett set a record for the most completions in a game ever, like 40-something completions. What an L. What an L. Come on, man. So you mean like there's a lot of competition out there, and we seen what McCorkle's been doing out there, and then Brock came back, and then again we see what Matthew Stafford's doing. I think they said Matthew Stafford has 2 interceptions on the whole year. Like, wow. So yeah, I'm leaning more towards this is just who he is, and like Ray said, he proves us wrong, but I ain't holding my breath.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it. I'm with y'all. I think it's tough. It sucks for them because I do think like they built a really good team around.
They got a good coach.
Like they got a good coach, but that part of it's kind of a big deal. And then especially in that division, like with everybody's the new thing now with like backloading the last few games of the season with division games, like that's tough because in that division, like I know when everyone's healthy, every team in that division has a quality defense. And if they don't have a quality defense, you got 2 really good play callers in that defense offensively to deal with too, which means you can't be behind. But for the not for the Rams, but for the Seahawks, you got the Titans, Vikings, Falcons, Colts, Rams, Panthers, and Niners. They all play some semblance of same teams down the stretch. But the tough part for Seattle is you're already down a game now to the Rams and the Niners, which means, yeah, if you sweep the Cardinals, that's great. If you don't sweep the Cardinals, that's a whole nother story. But you're down a game to those 2, and which is going to play a role in there somehow. But like you guys said, sometimes things are just what they are. Or I guess I need a little bit more evidence. Like I think where Baker Mayfield is, like I think Baker's done it a little bit long enough where I'll be like, all right, Baker, I'll accept that old you may not be new you because you've been consistent. New you's been consistent for a while, right? So I can accept it. Like Sam, it hasn't been long enough. So
I think Baker's the only one that you can really say that about, to be fair.
Yeah, because everybody else is like
dropped off. I mean, even with Daniel Jones, like I gotta see it longer, bro. You had 6 turnovers in a game. I can't.
You about to be like the 3rd quarterback that's a beneficiary of having the Offensive Player of the Year, which is now exclusively a running back award. Because Jonathan Taylor's going crazy. What was it the last few years? CMC, Saquon, now Jonathan Taylor,
and probably Jonathan
video game numbers. Yeah, like so. I mean, again, and you had a 6 turnover game, which not gonna knock anybody while they're down, but yeah, that's absurd, sir. It's disgusting. 6 turnovers is crazy. So no, you didn't fix everything. But here, last question that we'll get into. It's going to be rapid fire. Here we go. The Detroit Pistons are atop the Eastern Conference with a record of 12-2. They're currently riding a 10-game win streak. And yes, I did say 10 games. Powered by their duo of Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren. Cade averages 27.5 points a game, 5 rebounds, and let's call it 10 assists. It's 9.9. I feel confident that we can say 10 and it's okay. Duran's at 20 points a contest, 12 rebounds, along with the steal and a block. I want to get you guys' thoughts on them pacing the Eastern Conference. The Cavs are 2.5 games behind them. And if you feel they can sustain this, Octavia, we'll start with you.
Yeah, damn. So I think somebody in Detroit sold their soul for these teams out there to come out of purgatory, because that's wild. But to be fair, we know there has been more injuries in the East this year. We know Celtics are not in it. The Cavs didn't have Darius Garland for a while. I think Paul George just came back. Not that he's anything to write home about. VJ Edgecombe and the Sixers have kind of come down. I think they started the year 4-0, and then they lost 3 straight games or something like that. So I mean, as far as consistency, to go on a 10-game win streak is crazy. Any given night, and Cade and Duran playing well like that, that's impressive, And I feel like when the iron is hot, you got to strike, and this is the time and this is the season for them to really try to put on, because like I said, the East is a little bit lighter with a lot of injuries that have happened. The Pacers, Giannis is out now. Jalen's out. I mean, Jason Tatum's out. Paul George some of the. I mean, for God's sake, the Heat are playing pretty decently as well. So this is the time to strike while the iron's hot. They got a young core. Do I feel like they can sustain it? As of now, I'm gonna say no, just because again they're a young core. A lot of these younger players, they don't know what they don't know until they get into the situations. But I think, of course, they have a good chance. I don't foresee them continuing a however many game win streak. I think the Cavs did that last year, and you saw how that turned out for them. So it's not really indicative of how the postseason will go and how far you will go. But I mean, it's definitely a good story for them. Like I said, Detroit basketball has been in purgatory for since the melee at the Palace. I feel like is the last time they were relevant with Ben Wallace and Rip Hamilton and the mask and all of that, and Chauncey, who's in jail somewhere. So kudos to them. I mean, if they can keep it up, it'll make it interesting as we get closer and closer to. I feel like we're still so early on in the season that a lot of teams haven't really settled into who they are, their rotations, and all of those great things. So I'm interested to see how it goes forward, but I'm slightly skeptical but optimistic. If that makes sense.
Ray, your thoughts on the young bullies over in Detroit?
Yeah, I mean, like Octavia said, the East they banged up, and I think Detroit's taking advantage of that. We saw the kind of season they had last year, and it looks like they're building on that. So I mean, they can be dangerous. Especially with some teams we would normally see atop the standings kind of hampered by injury. It's a good time for them to they can just kind of slide into that spot. Whether how that goes in the postseason still remains to be seen, but I think they have a solid enough foundation as to where they can continue the success at least throughout the remainder of the regular season. Of course, they'll eventually lose another game at some point, but I think they're kind of figuring out who they are. They got a established leader. Guys know their roles and they're flourishing in them. So yeah, man, they're in a good spot. It's just up to them whether they want to take advantage of this or not. But yeah, it's I like the outlook for them. This was going to be. This is kind of like not to the same extent, but when Mike retired after the three-peat, it just felt like it was wide open. That's kind of how the East is right now, man. Boston just they lost one of their big guns. Indiana, they were just in the finals. Now their team looks completely different. It's people always say those windows close very quickly. So, when when that opportunity creeps in, you got to be in a position to take it. And I think Detroit's in that position right now.
Yeah, I'm with it for all the reasons you named. You guys named talking about how wide open the East is right now. I'm kind of just of the mindset like, why not? The way Detroit plays, like, why freaking not? I don't think anybody in NBA, let alone the East, is like, yeah, I can't wait to go bang around with Detroit for 4 quarters and enjoy the bludgeoning from their point guard and center. I think the only negative thing here is I'm sure the Pistons wish that they'd paid Duren last year because brother, the price has just gone up.
Today's price is not yesterday's price.
It can't be. Speaking of yesterday, he's coming off 33 and 15. Like, yeah, you should have got that done already. That said, it could be worse. Like, you have your you have the 2 cornerstones of your franchise moving forward. Like, there's no negatives there in the least bit. But yeah, that 10-game win streak is crazy. But I know Detroit has to be proud. Bully Ball's back. And it's not just the center. It's freaking point guard, which is weird, but hey, shout out to them.
They sold to Illuminati or something.
And they got the other twin.
The calm one. The crash out in Houston is crazy.
Okay. Just because he doesn't crash out as much as his brother doesn't mean he's calm.
Well, in comparison. In comparison to the twins, he's the calm one. And like you said, they might not be saying a lot. But my God, the one in Houston, sheesh, I'm like, bro, relax.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that day till when it's full on relaxed. But we appreciate you guys as always for this week. We'll check in with you guys next week. Ray and I will see you a couple more times this week for Wizards Outlook.
I'll pray for you guys.
See if they thank you. We see some better showings because otherwise things could continue to stay dark.
In the show altogether. Geez.
Oh my goodness. But we'll see y'all next week.